with a reluctant signature on unexpected inheritance papers and a 2-week commitment to liquidate her eccentric great-aunt's failing bookstore. Maya Winters unknowingly stepped into a decades-old government conspiracy that would unravel everything she thought she knew about her family. For behind the dusty mahogany bookshelves of Curious Pages Bookshop lay classified evidence that powerful intelligence agencies had gone to extraordinary lengths to keep buried. The late October rain tapped steadily against the windows as Maya Winters stared at the ornate storefront of Curious Pages Bookshop. The vintage sign swung gently in the evening breeze, its gold lettering faded but still elegant against the deep blue background. Located in the historic district of Hartwick Bay, the narrow 3-story Victorian building stood wedged between a coffee shop and an antique store, its bay windows filled with carefully arranged book displays that hadn't changed in months. Maya hadn't planned on inheriting a bookstore. Her life in Seattle was meticulously organized around her career as a cybersecurity analyst, her modern apartment, and friendships that didn't involve dusty books or small-town gossip. The call from the attorney 3 days ago had been completely unexpected. Your great-aunt Eleanor Winters has passed away. Despite your limited contact over the years, she's left Curious Pages Bookshop to you, along with the apartment above it. The limited contact was the attorney's diplomatic way of referring to a relationship that had effectively ended when Maya was just 10. She had spent several childhood summers in Hartwick Bay, following her great-aunt around the bookshop, learning about first editions and helping to organize literary events. Then suddenly, the invitations stopped. Her parents offered vague explanations about Eleanor becoming too busy and needing space. But Maya had always sensed there was more to the story. Now at 32, she was expected to deal with a bookstore she hadn't seen in over 2 decades, clear it out, and prepare it for sale, a 2-week project at most, according to the attorney. That would close the final chapter on a family connection she barely understood. Maya pulled her raincoat tighter and approached the door, fumbling with the antique brass key the attorney had couriered to her Seattle apartment. The lock finally yielded with a reluctant click, and the door opened with a musical chime from the old-fashioned bell overhead. The scent hit her immediately: paper, leather, binding glue, and something else she couldn't quite place, something that reminded her of childhood and possibility. Maya reached for the light switch, surprised, when the antique glass fixtures actually illuminated, casting a warm glow over the space. The bookstore's interior was exactly as she remembered, yet somehow smaller than in her memories. Floor-to-ceiling bookshelves created a labyrinth throughout the main floor. A massive oak checkout counter dominated the front, while reading nooks with worn leather chairs were tucked into corners. Everything was covered in a fine layer of dust, but otherwise immaculately organized color-coded bookmarks still protruding from shelves, categorizing different sections. 2 weeks definitely isn't going to cut it, Maya muttered, running her finger along a shelf of leather-bound classics. The rational decision would be to call the attorney immediately, explain this was far more than she'd agreed to handle, hire a liquidation company to clear the inventory, and never look back. Yet something held her there, perhaps curiosity about the great-aunt who had once been so important to her, or nagging questions about why Eleanor had severed their connection so completely all those years ago. As evening shadows lengthened across the shop floor, Maya locked the front door and decided to explore the apartment upstairs. A narrow staircase at the back of the shop led to the second floor, each step creaking beneath her weight. The apartment door was unlocked, opening into a space that felt like stepping into another era. The walls were lined with even more bookshelves, interspersed with vintage photographs and artwork. A comfortable-looking sofa faced a small fireplace, flanked by reading lamps. The kitchen was tiny but charming, with retro appliances and hand-painted tiles. Despite being uninhabited for several weeks since Eleanor's passing, the apartment felt lived in, as if her great-aunt had simply stepped out for a moment, rather than passed away in her sleep at 87. Maya found clean linens in a hallway, closet and made up the guest bedroom, avoiding Eleanor's room with its personal effects. After a simple dinner from the takeout place across the street, she returned to the main floor of the bookshop. Drawn to the back office she remembered being strictly off-limits during her childhood visits. The office door was locked, but the key ring the attorney had provided contained several unmarked keys. The third one she tried clicked perfectly into place. The office was small but efficiently organized, a solid desk covered with ledgers and inventory lists, filing cabinets against one wall, and yet more bookshelves. A vintage typewriter sat on a side table, a half-finished letter still threaded through its rollers. Maya sat at the desk and began sorting through the paperwork, mostly business records, invoices, and correspondence with publishers and book collectors. As she worked, she found a leather-bound journal tucked beneath a stack of catalogs. The book was well worn, its pages yellowed with age. Opening it, she recognized Eleanor's handwriting, the same elegant script from the birthday cards she'd received before their estrangement. The journal entries dated back 30 years, chronicling the bookshop's operations, but occasionally veering into more personal territory. Maya flipped forward, looking for entries around the time their relationship had ended. There was a gap several weeks with no entries, and then a single page with just one line. They're watching the store. They know I haven't destroyed it. Destroyed what? Maya flipped through more pages, finding increasingly cryptic entries about them monitoring the shop, intercepting mail, tapping the phone line. The journal painted a picture of a woman growing increasingly paranoid, or perhaps one with legitimate reasons to fear surveillance. "Is this why you shut me out?" Maya whispered to the empty room. "Were you trying to protect me from whatever this was?" As she closed the journal, her elbow knocked a framed photograph from the desk. Bending to retrieve it, Maya noticed something odd about the floorboards where the frame had landed. One board seemed slightly different from the others, the grain pattern inconsistent, the edges more precisely cut. Heart suddenly racing, Maya pressed her fingers against it and felt a slight give. She applied pressure to one end of the board, and it pivoted upward, revealing a small hollow space beneath the floor. Inside was a brass key unlike any modern one she'd seen, large, with an intricate pattern on its bow and a complex bit at the end, the kind of key that opened something old and significant. Maya held it up to the desk lamp, examining the ornate engravings, a series of small symbols that looked vaguely familiar to her trained eye, but nothing she could immediately identify. Running her thumb over the patterns, she wondered what lock this unusual key might fit. The bookshop had standard door locks, nothing that would require such an elaborate key. Perhaps somewhere upstairs in the apartment? Or maybe a secret drawer in one of the antique desks or cabinets scattered throughout the shop. Maya slipped the key into her pocket and continued searching the office. In a drawer beneath stacks of old correspondence, she found a small leather-bound notebook different from the journal, more like a code book. Inside were columns of numbers, initials, and dates stretching back decades. Some entries were circled in red, others crossed out entirely. At the back of the notebook was a hand-drawn map of the bookshop's floor plan, with several areas marked with the same symbols that appeared on the key. One location was circled repeatedly, a section of the main shop floor labeled only with the letters RC. Beside it, Eleanor had written, "The truth stays shelved but never forgotten." A chill ran down Maya's spine that had nothing to do with the drafty old building. Whatever her great-aunt had been involved in, it wasn't the ramblings of a paranoid old woman. The meticulous records, the hidden key, the coded map, these were the actions of someone deliberately concealing something of great importance. "What were you hiding, Aunt Eleanor?" she whispered to the empty room. Outside, the storm intensified, rain lashing against the windows as thunder rumbled in the distance. Lightning briefly illuminated the office, casting strange shadows against the walls. In that flash, Maya thought she saw movement outside the window, a silhouette that disappeared as quickly as it had appeared. Just the tree branches, she told herself, though the nearest tree was across the street. She returned her attention to the key, wondering what lock it might fit. The map suggested it opened something on the main floor of the bookshop in an area her great-aunt had designated RC. Maya gathered the journal, codebook, and map, then made her way back downstairs to the main shop floor. The bookstore took on an eerie quality in the evening darkness, illuminated only by the small lamp she carried. Shadows danced between the tall bookshelves as she moved through the space, consulting the hand-drawn map. According to the diagram, RC corresponded to the rare collections section, a walled-off area in the far corner of the shop that housed the most valuable books. Maya remembered this section from her childhood. It had always been kept locked, with customers needing special permission to browse its treasures. The rare collections room had a standard door with a modern lock, definitely not matching the antique key she'd found. Maya frowned, studying the map again. Eleanor's diagram showed something behind the rare collections room, a space that shouldn't exist given the building's layout. The room itself was small but impressive, with climate-controlled cabinets protecting first editions and signed copies. Maya examined the walls carefully, looking for anything unusual. The back wall was covered entirely by a massive mahogany bookcase filled with leather-bound volumes. According to the map, there should be something behind this bookcase. Maya ran, her hands along the edges of the shelf unit, feeling for any mechanism that might indicate it concealed a door. Near the bottom corner, her fingers detected a small metal plate that looked like an ordinary power outlet cover. When she pressed it, she heard a faint click from within the bookcase. With her heart pounding, Maya grabbed the edge of the bookcase and pulled. To her surprise, it swung outward easily, as if the massive piece of furniture weighed nothing at all. Behind it was a narrow door with an elaborate lock-a-lock that appeared to be the perfect match for the brass key in her pocket. Maya inserted the key with trembling fingers. It turned with a satisfying click, and the door swung inward on silent hinges. Beyond was darkness. She raised her lamp, its light revealing a narrow staircase descending into the shadows. Common sense told her to retreat, to call someone, the attorney, the local authorities, anyone before venturing into an unknown space beneath a bookstore. But curiosity pulled stronger. This hidden room might hold answers about her great-aunt, about the family rift that had shaped her life. Taking a deep breath, Maya began descending the stone steps, testing each one carefully before putting her full weight on it. The air grew cooler as she went, carrying the scent of paper and ink, similar to the bookshop above, but with something else, the metallic tang of electronics and the chemical smell of developing fluid, like an old photography. Dark room. At the bottom of the steps, the passage opened into a room that made Maya gasp. This was no storage space or panic room. It was a fully equipped intelligence operations center, frozen in time. One wall was covered with maps and photographs connected by colored strings. Another held filing cabinets with security classifications stamped on them. A desk in the center supported outdated but once sophisticated communications equipment. Battery-powered emergency lights kicked on as she entered, triggered by some sensor, illuminating the space with a soft blue glow. The room appeared to have been maintained and powered despite being sealed away. Air circulation systems hummed quietly, and a dehumidifier purred in one corner. "What on earth were you involved in, Aunt Eleanor?" Maya whispered, turning slowly to take in the surreal scene. The most striking feature was a vintage teletype machine connected to what appeared to be an early encrypted communication system. Beside it stood a bookshelf, not filled with books, but with dozens of film canisters, microfiche boxes, and hard drives carefully labeled with dates and code names. On the central desk lay a folder marked Operation Bookmark, with a security classification stamp and the seal of the Central Intelligence Agency. Maya's hands trembled as she carefully opened it. Inside were photographs, type-reading reports, and handwritten notes, all documenting a decades-long CIA operation run from this very room. According to the files, Eleanor Winters had never been simply a bookstore owner. She had been a high-level intelligence officer running a crucial listening post disguised as Curious Pages Bookshop. The bookstore's location near the harbor had made it strategically important during the Cold War, and its reputation as a source for rare international texts had provided the perfect cover for intelligence gathering. Foreign visitors, diplomatic staff from nearby consulates, and traveling academics had all frequented the shop, unknowingly providing valuable information to the operation Eleanor managed. But as Maya read further, she discovered something more disturbing. The files detailed how Operation Bookmark had officially been terminated in 2001, yet Eleanor had continued gathering intelligence independently for years afterward, focusing on a group identified only as Helix. According to her great-aunt's notes, Helix had infiltrated multiple intelligence agencies, including sections of the CIA itself. Eleanor had documented suspicious activities, unexplained asset losses, and information leaks that pointed to high-level compromise. The final report in the folder, dated just 3 months before Eleanor's death, contained a warning. Helix has identified this location. Containment compromised. Seeking secure channel for evidence transfer. Trust no official protocols. Maya sat back, struggling to process what she'd discovered. Her eccentric, book-loving great-aunt had been a CIA operative who had uncovered a possible infiltration within the intelligence community itself. And now Maya had inherited not just a bookstore, but all the secrets and dangers that came with it. The sudden noise from upstairs made her freeze, the unmistakable sound of the front door's bell chiming. Someone had entered the bookshop despite the closed sign and locked door. Footsteps moved across the wooden floor above, deliberate and searching. Someone else was in the bookstore, and from the purposeful movement, they weren't just browsing. Maya quickly gathered the most important-looking documents, shoving them into her jacket pockets, and listened intently to the movements above. The footsteps paused directly over the rare collections room. Her heart pounded so loudly she was certain it would give her away. Had someone followed her from Seattle? Had she been watched since her arrival? "I know you're down there, Miss Winters," called a man's voice, smooth and controlled. "I think it's time we discuss your great-aunt's unfortunate hobby of collecting information about matters that don't concern her. Intelligence agencies, it had to be. But were they legitimate, or part of the Helix infiltration Eleanor had documented? The files are quite safe with us," the voice continued, "and we're prepared to be exceptionally generous in ensuring they remain secure. Your great-aunt refused such an arrangement, which made things unnecessarily complicated for everyone." Maya's mind raced through options. There appeared to be no other exit from the underground room. The man above knew she was here, and based on what she'd just learned, he represented people with resources, influence, and a willingness to eliminate problems. But she had something her great-aunt hadn't: technology that Eleanor couldn't have imagined. The classified documents were already being captured and uploaded through the smartphone in her pocket, automatically backing up to her secure cloud storage. With this realization came courage. Maya reached for a drawer in one of the filing cabinets and found exactly what she needed to ensure her own safety leverage. "Whoever you are," she called out, her voice steadier than she felt, "I think you should know that everything my great-aunt documented is already backed up. If anything happens to me, it all goes public immediately." The silence that followed was profound. Then the voice, noticeably less composed, "Come upstairs so we can discuss this civilly, like professionals." "Like you discuss things with my great-aunt?" Maya countered, buying time as she searched for anything else useful in the hidden room. Her hand closed around something cold and metallic beneath a stack of papers, a government issue, Sig Sauer. pistol, loaded and maintained. Maya wasn't comfortable with guns, but the weight of it provided a strange reassurance. Eleanor Winter's death was from natural causes, the voice replied, an edge of tension now evident. Heart failure. It happens to people her age. And the break-in at her apartment afterward? The missing files your team couldn't locate? Maya was bluffing based on context clues from Eleanor's notes, but something in the silence that followed told her the bluff was working. You're making assumptions based on incomplete information, the voice finally responded. This is a matter of national security, not a game for amateurs. Maya Winters had come to Hartwick Bay to clear out a bookstore and close a chapter of family history. Instead, she had stumbled into a decades-long intelligence operation and possibly a conspiracy that had claimed her great-aunt's life. Now, as she prepared to confront the man above, she realized that her inheritance wasn't just a failing bookshop, it was her great-aunt's legacy, a meticulously documented case against corruption within the intelligence community itself, and the responsibility to finally bring it to light. "I'm coming up," she called, gripping the pistol tightly in her pocket. "And I think you'll want to hear my terms." The hidden room had changed everything. The question now was whether Maya would live long enough to use what she'd found. Maya ascended the stone steps slowly, the pistol a reassuring weight in her pocket. The documents she'd hastily gathered crinkled against her chest, tucked securely inside her jacket. Each step brought her closer to a confrontation she never could have anticipated when she'd arrived at Curious Pages Bookshop just hours earlier. As she neared the top of the stairs, Maya paused, taking a steadying breath. She wasn't a confrontational person by nature. Her work in cybersecurity involved quiet analysis and digital defense, not standoffs with intelligence operatives. Yet, something in her had shifted upon discovering the truth about her family's past, a sense of purpose, of righteous anger. "I'm waiting, Miss Winters," called the voice from above, impatience evident. With a final deep breath, Maya pushed through the hidden door and emerged into the rare collections room. The bookshop's emergency lights cast elongated shadows across the space. As her vision adjusted, she saw a man standing several yards away, beside the antique globe that had fascinated her as a child. He wasn't what she'd expected. Rather than some imposing figure, he was of average height and build, perhaps in his early 50s, dressed in an expensive but casual outfit that seemed at odds with the seriousness of the situation. His silver hair was perfectly styled, his clean-shaven face bearing the confidence of someone accustomed to authority. "Daniel Crane," he said with a slight nod, confirming nothing Maya knew. "I would say it's a pleasure to meet Eleanor Winters. Great niece, but under the circumstances." "You've been watching the bookstore," Maya stated, maintaining distance between them, waiting for someone to find my great-aunt's records. Crane's smile didn't reach his eyes. "Your great-aunt was a valuable intelligence asset who became increasingly unreliable in her later years. We've monitored this location out of concern that her delusions might compromise sensitive operations." "Delusions?" Maya couldn't keep the incredulity from her voice. "I've seen the evidence. Operation Bookmark. The Helix infiltration. My great-aunt's reports about compromised intelligence operations." Something darkened in Crane's expression. Tragic when a distinguished career ends with paranoia and conspiracy theories. The stress of intelligence work affects different people. "In different ways, Ms. Winters. Is that why she cut me off?" Maya asked. "Because she discovered Helix and was trying to protect me." Crane spread his hands in a gesture of false sympathy. Eleanor recognized she was becoming unstable. Cutting ties with family was her way of shielding you from her increasing paranoia. She made the right choice to protect you. The casual dismissal ignited something in Maya. "She was protecting me from you. She knew what you were doing, but couldn't prove it definitively, so she kept me away while she gathered evidence." "A colorful interpretation," Crane replied coolly, But we're not here to debate ancient history. I'm here to make you an offer. Like the offer you made my great-aunt? Maya's hand moved closer to her pocket. The one she refused before she conveniently died of natural causes? For the first time, uncertainty flickered across Crane's face. You have no idea what you're talking about. I know more than you think, Maya bluffed, drawing confidence from his reaction. The files aren't just paper records. Everything's been digitized, backed up to multiple secure locations. If anything happens to me, it all goes public. Crane studied her for a long moment, reassessing. What do you want? Money? The bookstore is barely breaking even, the building worth a fraction of Seattle real estate prices. But I could offer you a fair price, more than fair. I want justice, Maya said. For my great-aunt. For the agents whose covers were blown because of Helix's infiltration. For the operations that were compromised. A cold laugh escaped Crane. Justice? After 20 years, with evidence collected by a woman everyone in the intelligence community considered mentally unstable? He shook his head. Be realistic, Ms. Winters. Even if you could convince anyone to look into these allegations, Helix has relationships with officials throughout the intelligence oversight structure. The Senate Intelligence Committee might be interested, Maya countered, especially with the encryption keys Eleanor preserved. My great-aunt kept detailed records of every security breach, every compromised asset. This information clearly caught Crane off guard. His carefully maintained composure slipped, revealing a flash of genuine concern. The operational damage alone, Maya continued, gaining confidence. Imagine what would happen if every intelligence partner learned their assets had been compromised. The international blowback would be unprecedented. Crane's expression hardened. You're making a very serious mistake, Ms. Winters. Your great-aunt made the same one. It didn't end well for her. The threat hung in the air between them. Maya's hand closed around the pistol in her pocket, though she had no real intention of using it. She wasn't a killer, unlike potentially the man standing before her. Here's what's going to happen, Maya said, surprised at the steadiness in her voice. I'm going to leave this bookstore with copies of everything my great-aunt documented. You're not going to follow me or interfere in any way. And then what? Crane asked, his tone mocking. You'll single-handedly take down a covert faction that's embedded itself within the intelligence community for decades, based on the ramblings of a bitter old woman? No, came a new voice from the shop entrance. She won't be doing it alone. Both Maya and Crane turned toward the unexpected interruption. A woman in her early 40s stood framed in the doorway to the rare collections room, a press badge hanging from her neck, a camera in her hands. Behind her was an older man Maya didn't recognize. Sophia Chun, Washington Post, the woman introduced herself, stepping inside. I've been investigating intelligence community irregularities for 5 years now. Your great-aunt reached out to me before her death, Ms. Winters. This is private property, Crane snapped. You're trespassing. Actually, the older man said, Ms. Winters owns this property now. We're here at her invitation. He turned to Maya. Martin Geller. I was your great-aunt's handler before certain elements within the agency forced me into early retirement. I've been waiting a long time for Eleanor's files to see the light of day. Maya stared at the unexpected allies in confusion. My great-aunt's handler? But the attorney who contacted me was William Schaefer. Yes, Geller finished for her. A man with connections to several shell companies that trace back to Helix funding sources. But Eleanor was smarter than they gave her credit for. She made arrangements for Sophia to continue her work, and for me to contact you if you ever came looking for answers. Crane's face had gone rigid with anger. This is absurd. You have nothing but the paranoid delusions of a senile old woman. Actually, Sophia said, holding up her camera, I have quite a bit more than that, including this entire conversation. Mr. Crane, Would you like to clarify your comments about taking care of Ms. Winter's great-aunt, or perhaps your references to intelligence oversight officials being in your organization's pocket? The color drained from Crane's face. For the first time, he seemed genuinely rattled. You're manipulating my words. This is entrapment. It's journalism, Sophia replied. And it's just the beginning. Thanks to Eleanor Winter's meticulous record-keeping, we now have enough evidence to justify a full Senate investigation. Geller approached Maya, his expression gentle but urgent. We should continue this discussion elsewhere. Mr. Crane rarely operates without backup. They'll be wondering why he's taking so long. As if on cue, the sound of an approaching vehicle reached them, tires on wet pavement, the distinctive purr of an expensive engine stopping outside the bookshop. Crane's confidence seemed to return slightly. My colleague, he explained with a thin smile. She'd be interested to meet Eleanor Winter's great-niece. She handles our more delicate matters these days. Maya sensed the escalating danger. We need to leave now. The hidden room, Sophia said quickly. Is there another exit? I don't know, Maya admitted. I only found it today. There is, Geller confirmed. Eleanor showed me once years ago. It leads to the service alley behind the building. We can circle around to our car. Crane moved to block their path to the hidden bookcase entrance. I'm afraid I can't let you leave with those files. National security and all that. Maya's hand tightened on the pistol, though she still hoped to avoid using it. Sophia, seeing her tension, stepped forward. Mr. Crane, I've already transmitted preliminary information to colleagues at 3 different news outlets and 2 congressional oversight staffers, she said calmly. Preventing us from leaving will only accelerate the investigation. Your best option now is damage control. The car outside had stopped. Doors slammed, followed by footsteps approaching the bookshop's front entrance. Crane appeared to make a rapid calculation. With a tight smile, he stepped aside. We'll be speaking again very soon, Miss Winters. Intelligence matters tend to require personal attention. The files show was never just about national security, Maya said quietly. Helix has been selling intelligence to the highest bidder. My great-aunt documented everything. Something almost like regret flickered across Crane's features. The intelligence world is complicated, Miss Winters. There were considerations you couldn't possibly understand. Daniel, called a woman's voice from the front of the store. Is everything all right? Perfectly fine, Vanessa, Crane responded, his eyes never leaving Maya's. Just having a chat with Eleanor Winter's great-niece about her inheritance. Geller tugged urgently at Maya's arm. Now, while we have the chance. The 3 of them moved quickly to the hidden bookcase entrance. Maya slipped through first, followed by Sophia, with Geller bringing up the rear just as a striking woman in a tailored suit entered the rare collections room. What's going on? They heard her demand as Geller pulled the hidden door closed behind them. In the darkness of the underground room, Geller led them to the far corner, where a narrow passage Maya hadn't noticed earlier stretched into darkness. This way, the older man whispered. And hurry. They know about this place now. It won't be safe for long. As they navigated the claustrophobic tunnel, Sophia explained in hushed tones how Eleanor Winters had contacted her 3 years earlier, sharing some of her evidence against Helix. The investigation had been proceeding slowly, hampered by institutional resistance, until Eleanor's sudden death. Your great-aunt wasn't losing her mind, Sophia assured Maya. Helix arranged for rumors about her mental state to spread after she threatened to go public with her evidence. She knew they might come after her, Geller added. That's why she created the digital backups, why she reinforced this tunnel. She was preparing for a confrontation that finally came just too late for her to see it through. The tunnel eventually opened into a service alley behind the bookshop, just as Geller had promised. They emerged cautiously, checking for signs of Crane's colleague or anyone else watching the building. My car's down the block, Sophia said. We parked away from the bookshop in case it was being monitored. As they hurried through the rain-slicked alleyway, Maya looked back at Curious Pages Bookshop, the place that had featured in her childhood memories, that had served as her great-aunt's cover for decades, and that had finally brought everything full circle with her return. What happens now? She asked as they reached Sophia's car, hidden in a parking garage 2 blocks away. Now we take your great-aunt's evidence to people who can use it, Geller said, carefully storing the documents Maya had taken from the hidden room. Senate Intelligence Committee members who aren't compromised. Intelligence agency directors who can be trusted. News outlets beyond Helix's influence. It won't be easy, Sophia cautioned, starting the engine. Helix has had decades to establish their network. They have resources, connections, and they've already shown they're willing to go to extreme lengths to protect themselves. Maya clutched the documents she'd taken from the archive, thinking of her great-aunt spending years building a case in secret, alone and deliberately isolated to protect those she loved. They've gotten away with it for 20 years, she said, determination hardening her voice. That ends now. As Sophia's car pulled away from Hartwick Bay, Maya Winters understood that the inheritance that had seemed like a burden just hours ago was actually a sacred trust. Her great-aunt had left her more than a failing bookstore. She had left her the truth, and with it, the responsibility to finally bring justice to those who had thought themselves above it. Behind them, Daniel Crane watched the departing car from the bookshop's window, Vanessa Hayes beside him. They have everything, don't they? Vanessa asked, tension evident in her voice. Crane's expression remained impassive. They have what? Eleanor Winters collected. But they don't know the full story. Not yet. What do we do? The senior operative turned to his colleague, his face hardening. What this organization has always done, whatever is necessary to protect our interests. The confrontation at Curious Pages Bookshop was over. The true battle was just beginning. Sophia drove with the steady confidence of someone who knew every back road in the coastal region. They avoided the main highways, taking winding routes that meandered through dense pine forests and small coastal villages. No one spoke for the first 20 minutes, the tension of their narrow escape still hanging in the air. Finally, Geller broke the silence. We should be safe for now. I doubt even Helix would attempt anything on these roads, with witnesses around. Don't underestimate them, Sophia replied, checking the rearview mirror for the 3rd time in as many minutes. I've been tracking their operations for 5 years. They didn't infiltrate intelligence agencies by playing fair. Maya sat in the back seat, her mind racing to process everything that had happened. Just yesterday, she had been a cybersecurity analyst with a normal life, reluctantly dealing with an unwanted inheritance. Now she was fleeing from covert operatives, carrying classified evidence of corruption within the CIA itself. Where are we going? She asked suddenly, realizing she had no idea where Sophia was taking them. My cabin, Geller answered. About an hour from here, just over the county line. Crane's immediate influence doesn't extend quite that far. We'll be safe enough to regroup and plan our next steps. Maya looked down at the documents clutched in her hands. I still don't understand how my great-aunt connected with you both. The way I remember things ending with her, it seemed so abrupt, so final. Sophia turned slightly in her seat. That's what Helix wanted everyone to believe. Eleanor's reputation within the agency was systematically undermined over years' subtle rumors, convenient operational failures attributed to her, psychological evaluations that always seemed to find her just a little more unstable each time. By the time she approached me with her evidence, most of her former colleagues already thought she was just a bitter old woman with conspiracy theories. But she found you, Maya said. A journalist willing to listen. Sophia nodded. I was working on a story about whistleblowers in the intelligence community. Eleanor approached me carefully, shared just enough to pique my interest without revealing her full hand. It took months before she trusted me with access to her complete investigation. And you? Maya asked Geller. How did you stay involved if she was being pushed out? The older man's hands tightened slightly as he gazed out the window. I was Eleanor's handler for 20 years. I recruited her into the agency back when she was a brilliant linguistics student with a gift for pattern recognition. We ran operations together across 3 continents before settling into the bookmark station. He paused, glancing at Maya in the rearview mirror. I was the one who initially spotted irregularities in intelligence sharing assets being compromised. Operations failing in ways that couldn't be coincidental. When I brought my concerns to my superiors, I was suddenly facing early retirement for health reasons. Eleanor continued the investigation after I was pushed out. But you kept helping her anyway, Maya guessed. Unofficially. By then, I'd seen enough evidence to believe what we were facing wasn't just bad tradecraft or coincidence. It was systematic. Deliberate. They drove in silence for several more minutes, each lost in their own thoughts. The landscape gradually changed from coastal flatlands to more rugged wooded terrain. Sophia turned onto an unmarked gravel road that wound upward into the hills. There's something I still don't understand, Maya said finally. If my great-aunt had all this evidence, why didn't she go public with it years ago? Why hide everything? In a secret room? Sophia exchanged a glance with Geller. She tried, initially. Approached contacts in oversight committees, trusted figures in the intelligence community. Suddenly, all her meetings were canceled. Then her intelligence reports were classified as unreliable, security clearances revoked, bank accounts frozen. For routine audits. Helix blocks all official channels, Geller added. And then they started playing hardball. Break-ins at Eleanor's apartment. Surveillance teams barely bothering to hide their presence. Pressure on her few remaining allies. In the agency, the pieces fell into place in Maya's mind. So she didn't cut me off because she didn't want me around. She cut me off because Helix was threatening her, and she was trying to protect me. Your great-aunt wanted to bring you to safety with her, Geller said gently. But she knew if she simply disappeared with you, Helix would never stop hunting both of you. Instead, she made the hardest choice possible. She severed all contact, making it look like a personal rift, knowing Helix would see you as unimportant if you weren't. In communication, she sacrificed her relationship with you to keep you safe, Sophia added quietly. The gravel road ended at a modest cabin nestled among tall pines, simple but well-maintained with a covered porch and a small detached garage. Sophia parked and led them inside, checking carefully before unlocking the door. The interior was cozy. Main room with a stone fireplace, small kitchen area, and doors leading to what Maya presumed were bedrooms. One wall was covered with bookshelves, another featured maps of the region. We should be safe here for now, Geller said, securing the door behind them. This place is owned through 3 layers of shell corporations. Nothing connects it to me on paper. Sophia immediately set up her laptop on the dining table. We need to catalog what we have and get it secured online. How much did you manage to grab from the hidden room? She asked Maya. Maya carefully removed the documents from inside her jacket. Not everything, but the most critical files. The operational logs showing Helix's infiltration patterns, the asset compromise timeline, and the communication codes my great-aunt documented. Good, Sophia nodded. Between what you have there and the partial files Eleanor already provided me, we should have enough to start building our case. Case for what, exactly? Maya asked. What's our actual plan here? Sophia and Geller exchanged another look. That depends partly on you, Geller said carefully. How involved you want to be? This isn't your fight, Maya. Eleanor spent decades on this crusade. It cost her her career, her reputation, nearly her sanity. No one would blame you for handing over the evidence and walking away. The suggestion was tempting. Maya could picture it, giving everything to Sophia and Geller, returning to her orderly life in Seattle, leaving Helix and their crimes in more experienced hands. It would be the sensible choice. But then she thought of her great-aunt, dying. Alone after years of isolation, pushed out of the intelligence community she had served faithfully, branded unstable for trying to expose corruption. She thought of the summers at the bookshop, of the relationship that had been stolen from both of them by Helix's threats. It became my fight the moment I found that key, Maya said firmly. Tell me what we need to do. Relief showed on both their faces. First, we build a bulletproof case, Sophia said, typing rapidly on her laptop. Helix will have connections throughout the intelligence community who will try to discredit everything. We need irrefutable evidence, multiple sources confirming the same patterns, operational timelines that can't be explained away. Sources? Maya questioned. After 20 years, and with Helix's influence in the intelligence community, there are people who've remained silent out of fear, not loyalty, Geller explained. Former intelligence officers who noticed irregularities but were too afraid to speak up. Assets who were burned but survived. Analysts who were sidelined after asking too many questions. Getting them to speak won't be easy, Sophia acknowledged. But seeing someone finally standing up to Helix might embolden others. Maya considered this. The operational logs show at least 5 major intelligence compromises in the past decade. If we could find the affected officers. Most were professionally destroyed, Geller said grimly. Blamed for operational failures that weren't their fault. But some might be willing to come forward now if they see a real chance of exposing what happened to them. Sophia looked up from her computer. Here's what we're dealing with. The evidence you recovered gives us a strong foundation, but Helix will claim it's all fabricated by a woman with declining mental faculties. We need corroboration from multiple sources. And protection, Geller added. Once we start moving on this, Helix won't limit themselves to legal channels. They've invested too much in covering this up for too long. A chill ran through Maya as the true danger of their situation sank in. Protection from who? If Helix has infiltrated intelligence agencies, who can we trust? I have contacts in congressional oversight, Sophia said. People outside Helix's direct influence. But they'll need something solid before they'll act. Politicians don't stick their necks out based on historical allegations alone. So we're back to needing current evidence, Maya mused. She thought for a moment, her analytical mind processing the problem methodically. What about current operations? Does Helix have active operations we could expose? Geller's expression brightened. That's actually brilliant. Eleanor's files contain communication patterns and operational signatures unique to Helix. If we could identify an active operation using those same patterns, it would prove they're still operating. Sophia finished, nodding appreciatively. And if that operation involves illegal activities, selling classified intelligence, manipulating foreign policy for private gain, intelligence oversight committees would have to respond. Maya felt a spark of hope. My great-aunt must have recorded their operational patterns, right? We could use those to identify current activities. It could work, Geller agreed, his expression animated. I still have contacts in analysis who might help identify matching patterns in current intelligence traffic, nothing classified. Just metadata that could point us toward active Helix operations. We'd need to move quickly, Sophia cautioned, before Crane realizes what we're doing. As if in answer to her concern, her phone buzzed with an incoming message. Her expression darkened as she read it. What is it? Maya asked. My editor. At the Post, the Deputy Director of National Intelligence just called the paper personally, warning about a false and damaging story being developed by one of their journalists. They're moving faster than I expected. And that's just the official response, Geller said. I guarantee they're taking other actions we can't see yet. Maya felt a new determination hardening within her. Then we need to move faster too. My great-aunt spent years gathering evidence while Helix blocked her at every turn. We don't have that luxury. What are you suggesting? Sophia asked. A different approach, Maya said, thinking quickly. Instead of trying to build a perfect case before going public, what if we use strategic exposure to force the issue? Release enough evidence to attract attention from authorities outside Helix's influence, while holding back our strongest proof. To counter their inevitable denials. Geller considered this. Risky, we'd be showing our hand early. But we'd be controlling the narrative, Maya argued. Right now they're assuming we'll follow the same playbook my great-aunt did. Careful. Evidence gathering, official channels, systems they know how to manipulate. They won't expect us to go straight to the public. It could work, Sophia said slowly. Especially if we focus on the pattern of compromised operations affecting national security. That creates immediate pressure for official action. Geller nodded, warming to the idea. I have contacts at intelligence oversight committees, former colleagues who were pushed out like me. We could orchestrate a coordinated release, enough different sources that Helix couldn't silence them all. For the first time since discovering the hidden room, Maya felt like they might actually have a chance. Helix had spent decades perfecting their system of influence and intimidation, but they'd never faced the kind of immediate, widespread exposure that modern media and technology could create. How quickly can we move? She asked. Give me 48 hours to organize my media contacts, Sophia said. Geller can reach out to his intelligence community connections. We'll need to prepare selected evidence packages, enough to prove the case, without revealing all our sources. They worked late into the evening, organizing documents, creating digital backups, and developing their strategy. As night fell, Geller showed Maya to a small bedroom where she could rest. Alone for the first time since the confrontation with Crane, Maya sat on the edge of the bed, exhaustion washing over her. The events of the day seemed almost unreal. The hidden room, the decades of intelligence operations, the revelation about her great-aunt's true career, the narrow escape. She took out her phone, seeing several missed calls from her normal life colleagues, wondering why she hadn't returned as scheduled, friends checking in. That existence suddenly seemed distant, as if it belonged to someone else. On impulse, Maya opened her secure messaging app and typed a coded message to her former mentor at the cybersecurity firm, someone she trusted implicitly. She didn't share specifics, just enough to establish a secure backup channel if everything went wrong. As she set the phone down, she thought about Curious Pages Bookshop, not as the burden she had initially considered it, but as the repository of truth her great-aunt had created, a legacy more valuable than real estate. Deep in the surrounding woods, a figure in dark clothing watched the cabin through high-powered binoculars. He spoke quietly into a secure phone. Confirmed location. 3 subjects. Isolated property. Awaiting instructions. The battle for truth had begun, but so had Helix's counterattack. The next 48 hours would determine whether justice would finally come to the intelligence community, or whether powerful interests would once again bury the truth beneath layers of influence and intimidation. Day broke over Geller's cabin with a pristine calm that belied the tension within. Maya had slept fitfully, her mind processing everything she'd learned. Morning brought a flurry of activity. Geller had been up before dawn, reaching out to former intelligence colleagues through secure channels. Sophia worked the phone, speaking in careful coded language to trusted journalists and congressional staffers. Maya focused on organizing her great-aunt's documents, creating a chronology that showed the pattern of infiltration, compromised operations, and cover-ups. Her cybersecurity background proved invaluable, as she analyzed the communication patterns and digital signatures Helix had left behind. We have interest from 2 senior congressional staffers, Sophia announced, joining Maya at the dining table where she'd spread out her work. They want documentation, operational timelines, evidence of pattern recognition across multiple compromised missions. And your intelligence contacts? Maya asked Geller as the older man ended his latest call. 3 have agreed to review our evidence, he replied. Former directors who were pushed aside when they started asking questions about operational anomalies. But we need something current proof that Helix is still active to really get traction. Maya tapped a document in front of her. According to Aunt Eleanor's records, Helix operations always shared certain characteristics. They targeted specific types of intelligence, used particular communication protocols, and followed distinctive money trails through shell companies in Cyprus and Singapore. Can we trace those financial patterns? Sophia asked, leaning over to examine the document. With the right access, yes, Maya said, her mind working through the technical challenge. Banking algorithms could identify transactions matching these patterns. But we don't have that kind of access, Geller pointed out. Not legally anyway. Maya hesitated. I might have a way. In my cybersecurity work, I've developed tools for identifying financial fraud patterns. If I could adapt those tools to look for Helix's financial signatures. They debated options until Sophia received a message that made her frown deeply. Problem? Maya asked. My source at the post just got reassigned, she said quietly. No explanation given. The national security editor who's been supporting my investigation suddenly took extended leave this morning. The news sent a chill through the room. Helix was already working to isolate them, cutting off potential allies. They're moving faster than we anticipated, Geller said grimly. But I've made progress with my contacts. 2 former operations directors have agreed to review our evidence today. Maya couldn't help glancing out the window, scanning the surrounding trees. The sense of being watched hadn't left her since they'd arrived at the cabin. We should split up, she said suddenly. The others looked at her in surprise. Not permanently, but strategically. Right now, Helix knows we're together, probably at this location. They're watching, waiting to see what we do next. That seems unnecessarily risky, Geller objected. It's actually tactical, Maya explained, her mind working through the implications. Right now, Helix knows we have evidence, but they don't know exactly what or how much. They're watching this cabin, I'm almost certain, waiting to see what we do next, Sophia caught on quickly. If we stay isolated, it gives them time to prepare countermeasures for whatever they think we might do. Exactly, Maya nodded. But if we split up, pursue multiple angles simultaneously, it forces them to divide their resources. Some of us gather more allies while others secure the evidence. They can't track everyone at once. Geller looked unconvinced. And what exactly would you do? Use my technical skills, Maya suggested. I need access to secure computing resources to trace Helix's financial patterns. I can't do that from here. You'd be exposed, Sophia warned. I'd be in public places, surrounded by witnesses, Maya countered. Less vulnerable than isolated. In these woods. Meanwhile, you continue building media contacts, and Geller works as intelligence community connections. It's risky, Geller repeated, but with less conviction. Helix has been controlling this narrative for decades because they've kept it hidden, kept it compartmentalized, Maya argued. The more fronts we open simultaneously, the harder it becomes for them to use their usual tactics. After further discussion, they agreed to split their efforts. Geller would meet personally with his former intelligence community contacts, carrying selected evidence files. Sophia would coordinate with congressional staffers and prepare media packages. Maya would head to Seattle, where she could access specialized computing resources through trusted colleagues without raising immediate alarms. Before leaving, Maya carefully photographed and digitized every document they had. creating encrypted backups stored across multiple secure cloud services. The physical documents would remain with Geller, the encryption keys with Sophia, and the technical access with Maya. No single person would have everything they've captured. "Be careful," Sophia warned as they prepared to leave in separate vehicles. "Remember, Helix has decades of experience neutralizing threats." "That works both ways," Maya replied. Some of those same intelligence officers they pushed aside might be willing to help if they see a chance that Helix could finally face consequences. They departed at staggered intervals, Geller first, heading west toward Washington, D.C. Sophia second, traveling south to meet congressional contacts. Maya last, taking a circuitous route toward Seattle. As Maya drove, she processed everything she'd learned about her great-aunt. The woman she remembered, eccentric, passionate about books, with a remarkable memory for details, had been using those same traits to run intelligence operations. The bookshop's international clients, the literary events attracting diplomatic staff, the extensive travel for rare book acquisitions, all perfect cover for intelligence gathering. More painful was the realization that Eleanor's apparent rejection hadn't been rejection at all, but the ultimate sacrifice to keep Maya safe from Helix's attention. 20 years of separation that never needed to happen, a family connection severed by the corruption Eleanor had tried to expose. 6 hours into her journey, at a roadside rest stop, Maya noticed a black SUV that had appeared at several points along her route. Coincidence, perhaps, but her newly heightened awareness flagged it as potential surveillance. Instead of continuing directly to Seattle, Maya implemented counter-surveillance techniques. Geller had hastily taught her abrupt route changes, doubling back, sudden stops in public places. At a busy shopping mall, she purchased a new prepaid phone, leaving her original phone in a locker to continue broadcasting its location signal. By evening, she was certain she'd lost any tail. Using the new phone, she contacted her former cybersecurity mentor, Cameron Park, through a secure channel they'd established years earlier. "Maya," his voice held concern when they finally connected. "Where are you? What's going on?" "I need your help, Cam," she said, keeping details minimal. "It involves national security. I can't explain everything, but I need access to the pattern recognition systems we developed for financial fraud detection." There was a pause. "This sounds serious. Are you in trouble?" "Yes," she admitted, "but for the right reasons. Can we meet somewhere public?" They arranged to meet the following morning at a university library, neutral ground with enough public presence to ensure safety. Maya spent the night at an anonymous budget hotel, paid for in cash, constantly checking for surveillance. The university library was busy with students when Maya arrived, providing excellent cover as she scanned for threats. Cameron was waiting in a private study room he'd reserved, his expression serious. "You look terrible," he said by way of greeting. "Thanks." Maya managed a tired smile. "It's been an eventful few days. What's this about, Maya?" "Your message mentioned intelligence operations and financial tracking. That's not exactly your normal territory." Maya took a deep breath. "My great-aunt was CIA. She uncovered a rogue faction within the intelligence community that's been selling secrets and compromising operations for decades. She documented everything, but was discredited before she could expose them. Now they're after me." Cameron's eyes widened. "That's not what I expected. You have evidence of this?" Maya nodded, pulling out an encrypted drive. "Pattern recognition is key. This group, Helix, has distinctive operational and financial signatures. If we can identify current operations using these same patterns, we prove they're still active and dangerous." Despite his obvious skepticism, Cameron's technical curiosity was piqued. He examined the patterns Maya had identified: specific sequencing in financial transactions, particular routing mechanisms through shell companies, distinctive timing in fund transfers. This is sophisticated, he admitted after an hour of analysis. These aren't random patterns. They're deliberate operational signatures. Can we track them? Maya asked. Find current activities matching these patterns? Cameron hesitated. Legally? No. This would require access to financial data we're not authorized to have. But theoretically? Yes. The pattern recognition algorithms we developed could identify matching transaction sequences if we had the data sets. What about focusing just on publicly reported financial anomalies? Maya suggested. SEC filings, regulatory flags. Unusual market movements? He considered this approach. Less comprehensive but legal. We'd need computing power though, more than my laptop can handle. I still have access to our research cluster at the firm, Maya said. After hours, no. Questions asked. By mid-afternoon, they had developed a modified version of their financial fraud detection algorithm, specifically calibrated to identify Helix's operational patterns in publicly available financial data. They would need to run it on the secure computing cluster at Cameron's cybersecurity firm that night. As they left the library, Maya's new prepaid phone vibrated with a message from Sophia, sent through their secure channel. Congressional contact compromised. Meeting canceled. Media sources backing off after pressure. Regroup at backup location. ASAP, Maya's heart sank. Helix was moving aggressively to close off their avenues for exposure. She quickly messaged back, still pursuing technical angle. Need 24 hours. We'll contact at backup site tomorrow. Be careful, came Sophia's reply. Geller's contacts report unusual activity in intelligence channels. They're allocating significant resources to this. That evening, Maya and Cameron slipped into his firm's offices using his after-hours access. The computing cluster hummed efficiently as they uploaded their modified algorithm and set it to work analyzing thousands of financial transactions for patterns matching Helix's operational signatures. This will take several hours, Cameron said, watching the progress indicators. What exactly are we looking for? Financial activities that match known Helix operations, Maya explained. Specific sequencing of transactions through shell companies, particular timing patterns, distinctive routing signatures. If we find current financial operations using these same patterns, we've identified active Helix operations. They waited tensely as the system worked, periodically checking progress. Around 2 a.m., the algorithm flagged its first potential match, a series of transactions involving defense contractor payments flowing through the same shell company structure Helix had used in previous operations. That's it, Maya breathed, examining the data. Same signature, different operation, but absolutely the same controlling entity. By dawn, they had identified 3 distinct operations bearing Helix's financial signatures, one involving defense contracts, another connected to intelligence technology procurement, and a third linking to overseas consulting services that appeared to be fronts for intelligence trading. This is it, Maya said, securing the data. Current proof that Helix is still active, still using the same methodologies my great-aunt documented years ago. What will you do with this? Cameron asked, concern evident in his voice. Prove that my great-aunt wasn't paranoid or unstable. That the threat she identified is real and ongoing. And hopefully, find justice for what was done to her. As they prepared to leave, Maya received another secure message from Sophia. Urgent. Geller missing after meeting with former intelligence contact. Last seen entering restaurant in Georgetown. 18 hours ago. No communication since. The battle with Helix had just escalated dramatically. Maya now had crucial evidence proving their continued operations, but one of their strongest allies had disappeared. The next 24 hours would be critical in determining whether they could expose the truth before Helix silenced them all. Maya stared at her phone, reading Sophia's message about Geller's disappearance for the 3rd time. The weight of responsibility settled heavily on her shoulders. In just 3 days, her life had transformed from predictable routines to a high-stakes intelligence operation with lives now hanging in the balance. "What's wrong?" Cameron asked, noticing her expression. "My contact, the former intelligence officer helping us, he's missing," Maya said, struggling to keep her voice steady. "Last seen in Georgetown yesterday." Cameron's face grew serious. "This is getting dangerous, Maya. Maybe it's time to go to the authorities." "Which authorities?" Maya countered. "The same intelligence agencies Helix has infiltrated. The FBI, which coordinates with those agencies. We don't know who we can trust." She paced the empty office, mind racing through options. "I need to get this financial evidence to Sophia immediately. She's our best connection to congressional oversight people who might actually be able to move on this information." "And your missing friend?" Cameron asked gently. Maya paused, torn between priorities. "Geller is experienced former CIA. Field operations. If anyone can handle themselves in this situation, it's him. Our best chance of helping him is exposing Helix quickly." Decision made. Maya secured the financial evidence on encrypted drives while wiping all traces from the firm's systems. "I need to get to the backup meeting point without being tracked." "Where is it?" Cameron asked. "Better you don't know," Maya replied. "You've already taken enough risk helping me." Cameron shook his head firmly. "I'm already involved. And you clearly need help." After some debate, they developed a plan. Cameron would create a digital diversion using Maya's original phone to generate movement patterns suggesting she was still in Seattle, while Maya traveled to the actual meeting point in Portland, where Sophia was waiting at a safe house. "Once I deliver this evidence, we'll move immediately to congressional contacts," Maya explained. "The financial trails we've uncovered prove current Helix operations, not just historical activity. That should be enough to get official attention." They parted at dawn, Cameron heading to implement the digital deception while Maya took a bus south toward Portland. She kept her hood up and head down, one more anonymous traveler among many, constantly watching for signs of surveillance. 4 hours into her journey, while changing buses at a small regional terminal, Maya noticed a news ticker on the terminal's television. "National Security Advisor makes surprise resignation. Cites personal reasons." The timing couldn't be coincidental. Maya purchased a newspaper from a terminal kiosk, quickly finding the story buried on page 3. The advisor, Richard Harmon, had resigned without warning after 30 years in intelligence work, effective immediately. Reading between the lines, Maya sensed Helix's influence. Either Harmon was part of their network and was stepping back as pressure mounted, or he was being removed because he wasn't. Either way, the sudden movement in high intelligence circles suggested their actions were causing ripples. Helix was responding, which meant they felt threatened. For the first time since finding the hidden room, Maya felt a surge of hope. They were making an impact. She arrived in Portland by late afternoon, following Sophia's careful instructions to reach the safe house, modest apartment above a bookstore in a historic district that reminded Maya painfully of Curious Pages. The symmetry wasn't lost on her. Her journey had begun in one bookshop and now continued in another. Sophia answered the door cautiously, relief washing over her face when she saw Maya. "Thank God. Come in quickly." Inside, the apartment had been converted into an improvised operations center. Laptops sat open on the dining table, maps covered one wall, and documents were organized in neat stacks across every surface. "Any word from Geller?" Maya asked immediately. Sophia shook her head grimly. "Nothing direct. But I have a contact in Capitol Police who reported a disturbance at the restaurant where he was last seen. Nothing in official reports. Just an unofficial mention of men in suits escorting someone out through the kitchen." "Helix took him," Maya concluded, her stomach sinking. "Most likely, but there's something else." Sophia gestured to one of the laptops. 20 minutes after Geller disappeared, I received this. On screen was an encrypted message consisting of just 5 words, Harbor Light still operational Phoenix. It's from Geller, Sophia explained. Harbor Light was one of Eleanor's old operational code names from the bookmark station. Phoenix was Geller's emergency extraction protocol from their field days. What does it mean? Maya asked. He managed to get a message out while being taken. He's telling us Eleanor had another safeguard we don't know about yet, and he's implementing emergency protocols. Sophia's expression remained grave, but without knowing what Harbor Light refers to specifically. We can't follow up. Maya set down her bag, removing the encrypted drives containing the financial evidence. Maybe this will help. We found current Helix operations using the exact financial signatures my great-aunt documented. 3 active operations funneling millions through the same shell company structures. Sophia's eyes widened as she examined the data. This is exactly what we needed, proof they're still operational, still using the same methods. Combined with Eleanor's historical documentation, this creates a pattern no oversight committee could ignore. Have your congressional contacts completely backed off? Maya asked. Not completely. 2 staffers are still willing to meet, one from Senate Intelligence and one from House Oversight. But they need rock-solid evidence before they'll take action. We have it now, Maya said, indicating the financial data. Current operations matching historical patterns documented by a veteran intelligence officer. They spent the next hours preparing evidence packages for the congressional staffers, organizing the financial data alongside Eleanor's historical documentation to show the clear pattern of continued operations. By midnight, they had compiled a compelling case linking Helix to intelligence compromises spanning 2 decades, with evidence of current operations using the same methodologies. We deliver this tomorrow morning, Sophia said, securing the packages. Both staffers agreed to meet at the federal courthouse, public enough to be safe, official enough to maintain confidentiality. Maya nodded, exhaustion finally catching up with her. And Geller? I've activated every contact I have looking for unusual security movements or black site activations, Sophia replied. If Helix is holding him somewhere official, we'll find traces. As Maya prepared for a few hours of much-needed rest, her phone chimed with a secure message from Cameron. Surveillance team at your apartment in Seattle. Digital deception holding so far. Stay safe. Helix was closing in, but they were making progress. The evidence was assembled, congressional contacts were arranged, and they had forced Helix to react visibly. The pieces were coming together, even as the danger intensified. The following morning brought clear skies and a sense of purpose. Maya and Sophia prepared to leave for their meetings with the congressional staffers, carefully reviewing security procedures for the handoff. We'll arrive separately, Sophia instructed. I'll meet the Senate Intelligence staffer at 10 o'clock. You take the House Oversight contact at 10:30. We hand over the evidence packages, then immediately separate and head to different extraction points. Maya nodded, committing the plan to memory, and afterward, we go dark for 24 hours. Let the staffers begin their process without interference. Then we regroup at the secondary location to plan next steps. As they prepared to leave, Sophia's secure phone rang, a rare occurrence given their protocols. Her face paled as she listened to the caller. When? She asked tensely. Are you certain? Yes, I understand. Thank you. She ended the call, turning to Maya with grave concern. That was my contact in Capitol Police. There's been a development. Geller? Maya asked hopefully. No. Daniel Crane was found dead in his Georgetown apartment an hour ago. Apparent suicide. Maya stared in disbelief. Suicide? That's impossible. He was Helix's operational director. Exactly. Which means either Helix is eliminating liabilities, or someone else is eliminating Helix leadership. Sophia grabbed her laptop, quickly searching news sources. Nothing public yet. This changes everything. How? Maya asked, struggling to process this new development. Helix won't risk exposure through a suspicious death investigation. They'll be implementing containment protocols, eliminating evidence, severing connections, creating distance between operations, including getting rid of anyone who could implicate them, Maya realized, which puts Geller in even more danger, and us. It also means our congressional meetings are compromised, Sophia concluded. If they're cleaning house this aggressively, they've likely identified our contacts. We need to abort the handoffs. Maya felt a surge of frustration. So we're back to square one? All this evidence and nowhere to take it? Not square one, Sophia corrected, already packing equipment. But we need a new approach. Direct to media, maybe. Full public exposure rather than working through official channels. As they hastily gathered their materials, Maya's mind returned to Geller's cryptic message. Harbor Light still operational. Harbor Light, she murmured. My great-aunt's operational code name. What if it's not just a person, but a place or system? Sophia paused. What are you thinking? Curious Pages the bookshop. The hidden room was just one part of her operation. What if there's more we haven't found? A backup system, contingency protocols? Hope flickered across Sophia's face. It's possible. Eleanor was methodical, always planning contingencies. If she anticipated being neutralized. We need to get back to Hartwick Bay, Maya decided. Back to the bookshop. Whatever Harbor Light is, that's where we'll find it. They abandoned the Portland safe house within 20 minutes, taking separate routes out of the city. Maya headed north by train while Sophia drove, planning to reconvene near Hartwick Bay that evening. Both maintained strict communication security, using their phones only for emergency contact. During the journey, Maya reflected on how fundamentally her life had changed since opening that inheritance letter. What had seemed like an unwelcome burden, a failing bookstore from an estranged relative, had revealed itself as something profoundly more significant. Her great-aunt had left her not just a business, but a legacy of courage and integrity, a mission to complete what Eleanor had started. For the first time in years, Maya felt a sense of purpose that transcended her comfortable, but ultimately predictable life in cybersecurity. This was what her great-aunt had been preparing her for, perhaps not consciously, but in the summers spent teaching young Maya about codes and patterns, about finding connections between seemingly unrelated facts, about the value of perseverance in seeking truth. As the train carried her north through the Pacific Northwest's lush landscape, Maya formulated a new plan. They had been reactive, responding to Helix's moves, trying to work through established channels that Helix had long since compromised. It was time to change the dynamics, to be proactive, to force Helix to respond to them instead. By early evening, Maya reached the small coastal town of Hartwick Bay. Rather than going directly to Curious Pages, she implemented counter-surveillance techniques, doubling back, changing transportation methods, observing from a distance. After confirming the bookshop appeared unwatched, she slipped in through the service alley they had used during their escape days earlier. The bookshop felt different in the gathering twilight, no longer simply an inheritance to be liquidated, but a fortress of secrets still waiting to be fully discovered. Maya moved silently through the familiar space, now hyper-aware of its potential significance beyond books and retail. Using the hidden passage behind the rare collections room, she descended to the intelligence center they had discovered on her first night. The emergency lights activated as she entered, illuminating the space just as before. Nothing appeared disturbed. Helix evidently hadn't returned to search more thoroughly after their confrontation with Crane. Harbor Light, Maya whispered, scanning the room with fresh eyes. What are you? She methodically examined every piece of equipment, every filing cabinet, every potential hiding place. In intelligence operations, harbor light could refer to many things: a dead drop location, an emergency contact, a backup communication system, or a data repository. After an hour of searching, Maya had found nothing new. Frustrated, she sat at the central desk, thinking like her great-aunt. Eleanor had been meticulous, forward-thinking. If she created a contingency system, she would have made it accessible but secure, hidden in plain sight perhaps. Maya's gaze settled on the vintage teletype machine, obsolete technology that seemed oddly prominent in the room. Why would Eleanor preserve such outdated equipment? She examined it closely, noting its immaculate condition despite its age. This wasn't just a relic, it had been maintained. The teletype had a series of switches and dials with a paper feed system and a keyboard. Layout similar to old manual typewriters. On instinct, Maya entered the phrase "harbor light" on the keyboard. The machine remained dormant. Maya frowned, then tried a different approach. If harbor light was Eleanor's operational code name, perhaps it was also a key or password. She tried various combinations of the letters, but nothing activated the machine. Then she remembered something from those childhood summers, Eleanor teaching her about book ciphers, where text from a specific page in a specific book provided the encryption key. Harbor Light might not be just a code name, but a reference to a book. Maya hurried back upstairs to the main bookshop, searching the shelves for anything related to harbors or lighthouses. In the maritime section, she found several possibilities, but one stood out: a first edition of the Harbor Light Chronicles, a historical account of Pacific Northwest lighthouses. Returning to the intelligence center, Maya examined the teletype. Again, noticing a small scanner attachment that seemed incongruous with the vintage technology. She opened the book to its copyright page and passed it under the scanner. The teletype hummed to life, its mechanisms engaging with quiet precision. A hidden panel in its base slid open, revealing a modern solid-state drive connected to an interface that contrasted sharply with the machine's antiquated exterior. Hiding cutting-edge technology inside vintage equipment, Maya murmured appreciatively. Brilliant, Eleanor. She carefully removed the drive and connected it to her laptop. The drive was encrypted, of course, but the password field had a hint: where summer began. Maya smiled, remembering the first summer she had spent with her great-aunt. They had inaugurated their time together with a trip to Lighthouse Point, a rocky promontory at the northern edge of Hartwick Bay where an historic lighthouse stood. "Summer begins at the light," Eleanor had said. She entered Lighthouse Point as the password. The drive unlocked, revealing its contents, a complete backup of Eleanor's investigation, but with additions Maya hadn't seen before. These files were newer, updated until just weeks before Eleanor's death, and they contained something extraordinary: evidence of Helix's command structure, including names of senior government officials involved. Most critically, the drive contained a comprehensive dead man's switch protocol, instructions for releasing all evidence to multiple media outlets, oversight committees, and foreign intelligence partners if Eleanor didn't enter a reset code. Every 30 days, she built an insurance policy, Maya realized. Eleanor had created a system that would expose everything if she was eliminated, but something had gone wrong. Perhaps her illness had progressed too quickly for her to activate, and her helix had somehow prevented the switch from triggering. The final file was a video recording. Maya opened it with trembling fingers, and suddenly Eleanor Winters appeared on screen, older than Maya remembered. Her face lined with age, but her eyes still sharp with intelligence. "Maya," Eleanor began, and hearing her great-aunt's voice, after so many years, brought unexpected tears to Maya's eyes. "If you're viewing this, then I'm gone, and you've discovered the truth about Curious Pages and my work. I'm so sorry for the separation I forced between us. It was the hardest decision of my life, but necessary to keep you safe from Helix." Eleanor explained how she had discovered the infiltration, how her efforts to report through official channels had been blocked, and how she had been systematically isolated within the intelligence community. I've spent years documenting their operations, tracking their patterns, identifying their leadership. The evidence is all here, complete and irrefutable. But Helix's influence runs deep, which is why conventional approaches have failed. Eleanor leaned closer to the camera, her expression intensifying. The dead man's switch should have activated upon my death. But if you're seeing this, something interfered with the protocol. You need to manually trigger the release. The instructions are in the contingency file. But Maya, understand what this means. Once activated, there's no turning back. Helix will come at you with everything they have. The video continued with operational instructions, contact protocols, and security measures. But it was the final segment that struck Maya most deeply. I don't know if you'll ever forgive me for pushing you away, Eleanor said, her composure finally cracking. But I want you to know how proud I am of the woman you've become. Your intelligence, your integrity, your determination. These are the qualities that will serve you now. Trust yourself, Maya. You're stronger than you know. The video ended with detailed instructions for activating the dead man switch, including verification codes and transmission protocols. Maya sat in silence for several minutes, processing everything she'd learned and the magnitude of the decision before her. A noise from upstairs snapped her back to the present footsteps moving across the bookshop floor. Maya quickly disconnected the drive and concealed it in her pocket, drawing the pistol she'd taken during her first visit to the hidden room. Maya, Sophia's voice called softly from above. Are you down there? Relief flooded through her. Yes, coming up. They reunited in the rare collections room, quickly sharing updates. Sophia had evaded surveillance and reached Hartwick Bay safely, but had troubling news. Geller's situation has escalated, she reported. My intelligence community contact says he's being held at a private facility outside Washington, operated by a security contractor with Helix connections. They're calling it a national security detention, completely off the books. We need to move quickly then, Maya said, showing Sophia the solid-state drive. I found Harbor Light. It's my great-aunt's dead man's switch. All the evidence, all the names, all the operations, ready to be released to dozens of outlets simultaneously. Sophia's eyes widened. This changes everything. With this kind of comprehensive exposure, Helix wouldn't have time to contain the damage, Maya finished. No gradual release they could manage, no individual targets they could discredit one by one. Everything exposed at once. It would create a firestorm, Sophia agreed. Congressional investigations, intelligence community reviews, media scrutiny, Helix wouldn't be able to block every channel simultaneously. And that pressure might be enough to secure Geller's release, Maya added. Once they're exposed, holding him becomes a liability rather than an asset. They carefully reviewed Eleanor's dead man's switch protocol. The system was designed to release encrypted evidence packages to over 30 recipients, journalists, oversight committee members, intelligence community inspectors general, and even selected foreign intelligence partners who had lost assets to Helix operations. The brilliant part, Maya explained, examining the technical specifications, is that it's designed to be untraceable and unstoppable once initiated. The releases happen through automated systems across multiple countries, using anonymized routing protocols Eleanor developed. Helix won't be able to block the transmission once it starts. When do we activate it? Sophia asked. Maya considered the timing carefully. Not yet. First, we need to establish our position of strength. Contact your congressional sources. Tell them we have the complete Helix file ready for release to 30 media outlets and oversight bodies simultaneously. Offer them first access if they help secure Geller's release and provide protection. Negotiating, Sophia nodded appreciatively. Using the threat of complete exposure as leverage. Exactly. Helix has survived by keeping everything compartmentalized, managing individual leaks or concerns as they arise. They've never faced the prospect of total, simultaneous exposure across multiple channels. As Sophia made secure calls to her remaining congressional contacts, Maya prepared the dead man switch for activation, not initiating it yet, but ensuring all systems were ready. The complexity of Eleanor's design was impressive. She had created fallback mechanisms and redundant systems that would be nearly impossible to completely block. Within 2 hours, they had a response from a senior Senate Intelligence Committee member cautious interest coupled with justified skepticism. "Senator Davis wants proof we have what we claim," Sophia reported after the call. "Something concrete that demonstrates the scope and credibility of the full package." Maya selected a single file from Eleanor's archive documentation of a compromised operation in Eastern Europe that had resulted in the deaths of 3 intelligence officers, with clear evidence linking the compromise to Helix actions. Significant enough to prove their case, but limited enough to maintain leverage. They transmitted the file through secure channels Sophia had established with the senator's office. The response came less than an hour later. The senator had verified the file's authenticity through back channels and was now fully engaged. "Davis is contacting the Director of National Intelligence directly," Sophia reported, excitement building in her voice. "Off the record, unofficial, but with enough leverage to get attention. She's demanding a secure meeting with all of us, you, me, Geller if he can be located, and senior intelligence officials not connected to the compromised operations." "Will Helix know about this meeting?" Maya asked, concerned about another potential trap. "Almost certainly," Sophia acknowledged, "but that's part of the strategy now. They need to understand we're not bluffing about full exposure. The meeting creates official witnesses to our claims, making it harder for Helix to simply eliminate us without consequences." The negotiation continued through secure channels for several more hours, with the senator acting as intermediary. By midnight, they had reached a tentative agreement. Maya and Sophia would present their evidence to a closed session of select Intelligence Committee members and senior intelligence officials. In exchange, they received confirmation that Martin Geller had been located and would be present at the meeting. "It's working," Sophia said, reading the final message. "They're feeling the pressure." The meeting is scheduled for tomorrow afternoon in a secure facility in D.C. Maya nodded, feeling both vindication and apprehension. This is what Eleanor wanted: official acknowledgement, proper investigation, accountability. But we're not safe yet. "No," Sophia agreed. "This could still be an elaborate containment strategy, which is why we maintain our leverage." Maya held up the solid-state drive containing Eleanor's dead man switch. "If anything happens to any of us, if the meeting doesn't proceed as promised, if Geller isn't there safe and sound, everything gets released, exactly as my great-aunt planned." They spent the remaining hours preparing for the meeting, organizing their presentation of evidence, and establishing deadman triggers of their own if they didn't check in at specific intervals during their journey to Washington. Trusted associates would activate Eleanor's release protocol. As dawn broke over Hartwick Bay, Maya stood in the main room of Curious Pages Bookshop, taking a final look at the business that had concealed so much more than books. What had begun as an unwanted inheritance had become a mission of justice. A connection to the great-aunt she had lost twice, once to enforced separation, and again to death. "I wish I'd known the real you," Maya whispered to Eleanor's memory. "But I'll finish what you started." Sophia appeared from the back room, travel bag in hand. "Our secure transport is 5 minutes out. Are you ready?" Maya nodded, determination replacing uncertainty. They had evidence, leverage, and a plan. Most importantly, they had truth on their side. The truth Eleanor Winters had sacrificed everything to document and preserve. "Yes," she said firmly. "Let's finish this." As they prepared to leave Curious Pages for what might be the final time, Maya reflected on how far she had come from the reluctant inheritor who had arrived just days ago. The bookshop had changed her, just as it had changed everyone who discovered its secrets. Now it was time to ensure those secrets finally served their purpose, bringing light to shadows that had remained hidden for far too long. The sleek government helicopter cut through morning clouds as it approached Washington, D.C., carrying Maya and Sophia toward the culmination of their dangerous journey. Below them, the nation's capital emerged from the mist, its iconic monuments standing as silent witnesses to countless pivotal moments in American history. Today would add another, though few would ever know the full story. 10 minutes to landing, the pilot announced through their headsets. Maya clutched the secure case containing Eleanor's evidence. After their agreement with Senator Davis, an unmarked helicopter had collected them from a private airfield near Hartwick Bay, sign that at least some powerful figures were taking their claims seriously. "Remember the contingencies," Sophia said quietly. "If anything seems wrong when we land, if Geller isn't present as promised, or if they try to separate us, the dead man switch activates automatically," Maya finished. They had programmed Eleanor's system to release everything if they didn't enter cancellation codes at regular intervals. "But I'm hoping it doesn't come to that." The helicopter descended toward a nondescript government building on the outskirts of the capital. No markings identified its purpose, but the security was evident: armed personnel, vehicle barriers, and surveillance systems that spoke to its sensitive nature. As they touched down on the rooftop helipad, Maya's anxiety peaked. They were now completely in official hands, their safety dependent on the integrity of people they didn't know and couldn't fully trust. A woman in a tailored suit approached as they disembarked. "Ms. Winters, Miss Chun, I'm Amanda Reeves, Senator Davis's chief of staff. She's waiting for you inside." Reeves gestured toward a stairwell entrance. "Your presence here is classified at the highest levels. Very few people know about this meeting." "Is Martin Geller here?" Maya asked immediately. A flicker of something concern perhaps crossed Reeves's face. "All attendees are assembled in the secure conference room. Please follow me." Maya and Sophia exchanged glances. Not a direct answer, which was worrying. They followed Reeves down several floors and through a series of security checkpoints, each requiring biometric verification for their escort. Finally, they reached a reinforced door guarded by 2 stern-faced security officers. "Final security protocol," Reeves explained. "You'll need to surrender all electronic devices before entering." "That wasn't part of our agreement," Sophia objected. "Standard procedure for this facility. Your devices will be secured and returned afterward." Maya hesitated. Their phones contained dead man switch protocols. Without them, they couldn't prevent automatic activation of Eleanor's evidence release. "We need to make a scheduled security check-in," Maya explained. "Part of our protection protocol." Reeves seemed to understand the implication. "You can make your check-in from a secure line inside. But no external devices can enter this room. Those are the conditions." After a tense negotiation, they were permitted to make their security check-ins from an internal phone system, temporarily postponing the dead man switch. Only then did they surrender their devices and pass through the final security screening. The conference room beyond was imposing: a large oval table surrounded by high-backed chairs, screens covering one wall, and subdued lighting that created an atmosphere of serious purpose. Around the table sat 8 people, all watching intently. As Maya and Sophia entered, Senator Elizabeth Davis rose, first a commanding woman in her 60s with silver hair and the confident bearing of someone accustomed to power. "Ms. Winters, Miss Chun, thank you for coming." Her gaze was direct, evaluating. "Your claims have created quite a stir in certain circles." Maya scanned the room anxiously, her heart lifting when she spotted Martin Geller seated at the far end. He looked tired but unharmed, offering a subtle nod of reassurance. Beside him sat 2 people Maya recognized from news: coverage the Director of National Intelligence and the Deputy Director of the FBI. The remaining attendees were introduced. As the CIA Inspector General, the NSA's General Counsel, and 2 senior members of the Senate Intelligence Committee. The final seat was occupied by a stern-looking military officer identified only as General Williams, Joint Special Operations Command Liaison. "Before we begin," Maya said firmly, "I need confirmation that Martin Geller is here voluntarily." "And unharmed," Geller spoke up. "I'm fine, Maya. There was a misunderstanding regarding my status. It's been resolved." His careful phrasing suggested there was more to the story, but he was indicating it was safe to proceed. Senator Davis gestured for them to be seated. "We have 3 hours scheduled for this briefing. Given the sensitivity of your allegations, this meeting is not being recorded, and all notes will be secured under special access protocols." "We appreciate the security measures," Sophia said, "but we need to be clear about our position. We have evidence of a decades-long infiltration of U.S. intelligence services by a rogue faction codenamed Helix. This evidence is comprehensive, documented, and currently set for automatic release to 32 media outlets and oversight bodies worldwide if we don't prevent it." The DNI leaned forward, his expression grave. "That would be catastrophic for national security, regardless of the legitimacy of your claims." "Which is why we're here instead," Maya countered. "We're offering the opportunity for proper internal investigation before public exposure becomes necessary." General Williams spoke for the first time, his voice hard. "Some might consider that blackmail, Ms. Winters. Others might call it accountability," she replied evenly. "My great-aunt tried working through official channels for years. She was marginalized, discredited, and ultimately died with her warnings unheeded. We're simply ensuring her evidence receives proper attention this time." Senator Davis intervened smoothly. "We're here to evaluate evidence, not debate tactics. Please proceed with your presentation." Maya opened the secure case, removing Elena's files and the solid-state drive containing the complete Helix documentation. For the next hour, she and Sophia methodically presented the evidence, beginning with Eleanor's initial discovery of irregularities, through the pattern of compromised operations, to the financial tracking that identified current Helix activities. The room remained tensely silent throughout, officials occasionally exchanging glances, but offering no interruptions. Only when Maya reached the evidence of Helix's leadership structure did reactions become visible subtle shifts in posture. Tightening expressions, one senator actually paling as names were revealed. "These are extraordinary allegations," the CIA Inspector General said finally. "You're implicating senior officials across multiple agencies and administrations." "The evidence speaks for itself," Geller interjected. Eleanor Winters documented everything meticulously. "I've verified much of it independently during my career. Helix is real, their infiltration is extensive, and their damage to national security has been incalculable." The DNI studied the financial evidence with particular intensity. "These transaction patterns match irregularities my office flagged 6 months ago. We believed it was sophisticated foreign intelligence activity. You're suggesting it's domestic?" "Not just domestic," Sophia clarified. "A private intelligence network operating within our official agencies, selling secrets, compromising operations, and eliminating threats to their existence. Like Daniel Crane's convenient suicide." Maya added. A ripple of reaction moved through the room. "How do you know about Crane?" The FBI Deputy Director asked sharply. "We have sources," Sophia replied. "His death wasn't suicide, was it? He was Helix's operational director, and someone eliminated him during their cleanup operation." General Williams and the DNI exchanged meaningful glances. "Crane's death is under investigation," the general said carefully. "There are inconsistencies." The atmosphere in the room had subtly shifted. What had begun as skeptical evaluation was evolving into something more complex, a growing recognition that Maya and Sophia's claims couldn't be easily dismissed. "We need time to verify all this independently," the DNI said finally. "Cross-reference with our internal investigations, confirm the operational details." "How much time?" Maya asked. 72 hours minimum, he replied. "This is extensive documentation spanning decades." Maya shook her head. 24 hours. "After that, we need to see concrete action, arrests, suspensions, official investigations announced publicly. Or the files go to the media." "That's unreasonable," the NSA counsel objected. "The verification alone. My great-aunt spent 20 years being told her concerns required more time, more verification, more process," Maya interrupted. Meanwhile, Helix continued operating with impunity. "We're not making the same mistake," Senator Davis intervened again. 48 hours. "With preliminary actions beginning immediately based on the most verifiable evidence." "That's a reasonable compromise." After tense negotiation, they reached agreement. 48 hours for initial verification, with a joint task force established immediately to pursue the most credible leads. Maya, Sophia, and Geller would remain under protective custody during this period for their safety. Officially, though Maya recognized it also kept them controlled. As the meeting concluded, arrangements were made for their secure accommodation within the facility. The officials filed out, leaving Maya alone with Sophia and Geller. "Did we just win?" Maya asked quietly once the room was empty save for them. Geller's expression was cautious. "Not yet. We forced them to acknowledge the evidence, which is further than Eleanor ever got. But acknowledgement isn't action." "Some of those officials are completely sincere," Sophia observed. "Davis, certainly, probably the Inspector General. But others could be Helix themselves," Geller finished. "Or at least compromised. We've forced the issue into official channels, but that doesn't mean everyone in those channels is trustworthy." Maya nodded, understanding the precarious nature of their position, which is why the dead man switch remains our insurance policy. "If they try to bury this again, everything goes public," Sophia confirmed. "But let's hope it doesn't come to that. A controlled, official investigation would be better for everyone, less intelligence compromise, more precise targeting of the guilty." They were escorted to secure quarters within the facility, comfortable, but clearly designed for containment. As much as protection. Separate rooms, monitored, with limited communication access. Maya found herself alone for the first time in days, in a space that reminded her of an upscale hotel room stripped of all personality. She sat on the edge of the bed, exhaustion finally catching up with her. The adrenaline that had carried her through the past days was ebbing, leaving behind a profound weariness. Yet sleep seemed impossible with so much still unresolved. On the desk lay a secure tablet, provided for her to review her own evidence during their stay. Maya activated it, exploring Eleanor's files again, seeking anything they might have missed. Her great-aunt's meticulous documentation was a testament to her determination and intelligence, qualities Maya had admired even as a child without understanding their true depth. A soft knock interrupted her thoughts. She opened the door to find Geller, accompanied by a security officer who remained discreetly in the hallway. "May I come in?" he asked. "There are some aspects of Eleanor's evidence we should discuss before tomorrow's follow-up." Maya welcomed him, grateful for the company and the chance to speak with someone who had known her great-aunt during her intelligence career. Once the door closed, Geller spoke quietly. "The room is almost certainly monitored, but I needed to check on you." "Are you holding up?" "I'm fine," Maya assured him. "Just processing everything. What happened to you in Georgetown?" "We were worried." Geller's expression darkened. "Helix extraction team. Very professional. They wanted to know exactly what evidence we had and who else knew about it." He rubbed his wrists unconsciously. When Crane was killed, everything escalated. The faction controlling Helix now is more aggressive, less surgical. They're cleaning house. Do you think they'll actually investigate themselves? Maya asked. Or is this all for show while they prepare a countermove? Both, Geller replied. Some of the officials in that room were genuinely shocked by the evidence. Others were calculating damage control. The next 48 hours will determine which faction wins out. He studied her thoughtfully. You've handled all this remarkably well. Eleanor would be proud. The mention of her great-aunt brought a surge of emotion Maya had been suppressing. I wish I'd known the truth years ago. We lost so much time. She regretted that separation every day, Geller said gently. But she never regretted keeping you safe. After they threatened you directly, she had no choice. Threatened me? Maya's heart skipped. I didn't know it went that far, Geller nodded solemnly. A warning delivered to her apartment, surveillance photos of you at college, your daily routines documented. The message was clear. Back off or you'd suffer for her investigation. That's when she made the hardest decision of her life, cutting all contact, making it appear you were estranged and unimportant to her. The revelation hit Maya hard, not just the threat itself, but the sacrifice it represented. Eleanor had given up her relationship with Maya, had allowed herself to be perceived as uncaring or unstable, all to ensure Maya's safety. She never stopped watching over you, though, Geller continued. Security measures for your apartment building, background checks on your employers, protective surveillance during periods of heightened Helix activity. All done through cutouts and third parties so it couldn't be traced back to her. Tears welled in Maya's eyes. She was protecting me all along. Until the very end, Geller confirmed. Her final act was ensuring the evidence would eventually reach you once she knew her time was limited. She believed you had the strength and intelligence to finish what she started, and she was right. Their conversation was interrupted by another knock. Senator Davis entered, her expression serious but not alarming. I thought you should know, she said without preamble. The verification process has been accelerated. The financial evidence you provided corroborated internal investigations. Already underway. 2 arrests have been made, quietly, intelligence officers whose transaction patterns matched those you identified. Hope surged in Maya. Then you believe us? Let's say the evidence is compelling enough to warrant immediate action, Davis replied carefully. A joint FBI intelligence community task force has been established under secure protocols. The Director of National Intelligence is personally overseeing the investigation. And the higher-level Helix members? Geller pressed. The policymakers and directors implicated in Eleanor's files? Davis's expression revealed the political complexity. That requires more substantial verification before action can be taken. The implications of arresting senior officials without absolute certainty. We understand the sensitivity, Maya acknowledged. But they must be investigated with the same rigor as the lower-level operatives. They will be, Davis assured. Them. I've staked my reputation on ensuring this investigation remains comprehensive and impartial. No one gets a pass because of their position. After Davis departed, promising updates by morning, Maya and Geller discussed the developments cautiously. Optimistic but aware that initial actions didn't guarantee complete resolution. It's progress, Geller concluded. More than we've ever achieved before. But we maintain the dead man's switch until we see concrete action against Helix leadership. The following day brought a whirlwind of activity. Maya and Sophia were brought to a different secure room where officials from the Joint Task Force interviewed them extensively, confirming details from Eleanor's files and cross-referencing with internal intelligence. Geller, with his decades of experience, worked directly with the DNI's team, identifying operational patterns and agent networks. By evening, the progress was undeniable. 7 Helix-connected intelligence officers had been quietly detained. Financial accounts matching the operational patterns had been frozen. 2 senior officials had been placed on administrative leave pending investigation. Senator Davis delivered the update personally, her professional demeanor unable to completely mask her satisfaction. We've identified 31 individuals connected to Helix operations so far. 17 are currently being located for questioning. The evidence trail is holding up to scrutiny. And the leadership? Maya pressed. The policy level? Davis's expression tightened slightly. That's more complicated. The evidence implicates individuals with significant political protection. Building cases against them requires absolute precision. Which takes time, Sophia translated, not hiding her skepticism. Yes, but not indefinite time, Davis countered. The FBI director has authorized a special task force with extraordinary authorities. No one is beyond scrutiny. She fixed Maya with a direct gaze. This is happening, Ms. Winters. The truth your great-aunt fought for is finally being addressed. That night, alone in her room, Maya faced the decision she had been postponing. The 48-hour deadline approached, requiring a choice: extend trust to the official investigation or activate Eleanor's demand switch, releasing everything publicly. The evidence of initial action was encouraging, but Maya recognized the political realities. High-level prosecutions moved slowly, faced obstacles, sometimes faded away as priorities shifted. Public exposure would force immediate accountability, but might compromise ongoing intelligence operations unrelated to Helix. Maya thought about what Eleanor would want: justice. Certainly, but not at any cost. Her great-aunt had dedicated her life to protecting American intelligence capabilities while fighting corruption within the system. She had chosen targeted exposure over indiscriminate revelation. The next morning, Maya requested a meeting with Senator Davis, Sophia, and Geller. When they assembled, she presented her decision. We're extending the deadline by 30 days, she announced. Conditional on continued progress against all levels of Helix, including leadership. We'll provide additional technical assistance in tracing their operations, but we expect weekly progress reports and concrete actions. Relief showed briefly on Davis's face. That's a reasonable approach. I give you my word the investigation won't be buried or redirected. And to ensure that promise is kept, Maya continued, we've established secondary dead man switches. If the investigation stalls or is compromised, everything still goes public. But now multiple trusted individuals hold activation keys, not just us. Geller nodded approvingly. This had been his suggestion: distributing responsibility, so Helix couldn't simply eliminate the 3 of them to prevent exposure. One more condition, Maya added. Full immunity for my great-aunt's actions and posthumous restoration of her professional reputation. The official record needs to acknowledge she was right all along. That I can personally guarantee, Davis said firmly. Eleanor Winters deserves to be recognized for her service and vindicated for her claims. The following weeks passed in a blur of secure briefings, evidence analysis, and careful coordination with the Joint Task Force. Maya's cybersecurity expertise proved invaluable in tracking Helix's digital fingerprints across classified networks. Sophia's journalistic skills helped craft the narrative that would eventually become the official account of the investigation. Geller's operational experience guided the identification and neutralization of Helix assets still in place. The investigation expanded methodically, each revelation leading to new connections. What had begun with Eleanor's solitary documentation had evolved into the largest internal intelligence community investigation in decades. The corruption Helix had embedded went deeper than anyone had imagined, touching operations across 4 continents and compromising intelligence sharing with key allies. 30 days after their initial meeting, Maya, Sophia, and Geller sat in Senator Davis's private office reviewing the investigation's progress. The results were substantial: 23 arrests, 14 indictments, 6 senior officials removed. from positions of authority. Most significantly, the investigation had reached the policy level, with a former national security advisor now facing serious charges. The Attorney General has approved the final phase, Davis informed them. Arrests of the remaining leadership will begin tomorrow. Limited public disclosure will follow, carefully framed to protect ongoing intelligence operations, while acknowledging the corruption that was uncovered. And Eleanor? Maya asked quietly. Davis handed her an official document bearing the seal of the intelligence community. This will be entered into the permanent record. It formally acknowledges that Eleanor Winters identified a legitimate threat to national security, pursued appropriate channels for reporting, and was unjustly marginalized for her efforts. Her service is recognized as exemplary, her actions vindicated completely. Maya traced her fingers over her great-aunt's name on the document, emotion threatening to overwhelm her. "Thank you." "No," Davis said firmly. "We thank her. And you. Without your persistence, Helix would still be operating unchecked." 2 days later, the carefully worded official announcement hit the news at joint FBI intelligence community. Statement revealing the discovery and neutralization of an unauthorized intelligence network operating within official channels. Statement referenced dedicated intelligence professionals whose vigilance identified the threat, without naming Eleanor specifically, but those who needed to know would understand. Maya watched the news coverage from the small apartment she had taken in Washington during the extended investigation. The public would never know the full story, the decades of solitary effort by her great-aunt, the hidden room beneath a small-town bookshop, the granddaughter who inherited not just a building but a mission of justice. The secure phone provided by the task force chimed with a message from Geller. "It's done. Final arrests completed. No warnings, no escapes." Eleanor's work finally finished. Later that evening, Sophia and Geller joined Maya at her apartment, bringing champagne to mark the occasion. They had formed a bond through shared danger that none of them had expected, but all valued deeply. "What happens now?" Sophia asked as they sat reflecting on the journey that had brought them together. "For the intelligence community, years of rebuilding trust and repairing damaged operations," Geller replied. "For us," he shrugged, "life continues, I suppose." Maya had been considering this question herself. "I've been offered a position with the Intelligence Community Inspector General's office," she revealed, "heading a new digital accountability division designed to identify insider threats before they become systemic." "You're joining the system?" Sophia asked, surprised. "I'm helping reform it," Maya corrected. "Someone needs to ensure another Helix never takes root. Who better than someone who knows what to look for?" Geller raised his glass. Eleanor would approve. She never lost faith in the mission, just in those who corrupted it. They toasted in silent tribute to the woman whose courage had started everything. After Sophia and Geller departed, Maya stood at her window, looking out at the Washington skyline illuminated against the night sky. Her life had transformed in ways she never could have imagined when she reluctantly signed those inheritance papers. Curious Pages Bookshop still awaited her decision. She could sell it as originally planned, now that its secret purpose had been fulfilled. But lately, Maya had been considering another option: renovating the shop, maintaining its legacy as a haven for knowledge and discovery, perhaps with a special collection focused on government accountability and citizen oversight. The hidden room would remain her secret, a private memorial to Eleanor's dedication and courage. But the bookshop itself could continue as a living tribute, a place where ideas flourished and truth was valued above all. The following weekend, Maya returned to Hartwick Bay for the first time since the investigation began. Stepping into Curious Pages, she felt the familiar sense of possibility that had always permeated the space, enhanced now by her understanding of its true significance. She moved through the rooms, running her fingers along book spines, remembering summers spent learning from her great-aunt lessons in literature, in codes, in persistence, in integrity. Eleanor had been preparing her all along, though neither of them could have known how crucial those lessons would become. In the rare collections room, Maya pressed the hidden mechanism that revealed the entrance to the secret room below. The space appeared unchanged, a time capsule of Eleanor's clandestine work. Maya had received permission to remove the classified materials, but she decided to leave the room intact, sealed but preserved, a silent witness to extraordinary dedication. Before sealing the entrance for what might be the final time, Maya placed a framed photograph on the central desk, herself and Eleanor from that last summer they'd spent together, both smiling in front of the bookshop, unaware of the separation. That would soon follow. "We did it, Aunt Eleanor," she whispered. "All of it. The truth is out, justice delivered, your name cleared. You never gave up, and neither did I." As she climbed the stairs and carefully concealed the entrance behind the bookshelf, Maya felt a profound sense of completion. The inheritance that had once seemed an unwelcome burden had revealed itself as the most precious gift, a chance to know the true Eleanor Winters, to complete her mission, and to discover purpose and courage within herself that Maya hadn't known she possessed. Outside, the afternoon sun cast golden light across the bookshop's worn wooden floors. Maya opened the register, removed the closed sign from the door, and welcomed the first curious browser who wandered in. Curious Pages Bookshop was open for business again, a cover story no longer, but a new chapter beginning. Behind the counter, visible only to Maya, sat Eleanor's leather-bound journal, its final pages now filled with a new entry. The truth stayed shelved but never forgotten. Now it stands in the light, as it always deserved to be. The inheritance of secrets had transformed into a legacy of truth. And for Maya Winters, bookseller and guardian of that truth, the story was just beginning. Up next, you've got two more standout stories right on your screen. If this one hit the mark, you won't want to pass these up. Just click and check them out. And don't forget to subscribe and turn on the notification bell so you don't miss any upload from us.